Alright, yeah! Thank God for fantasy football. I'm Buster Brown, and the show is called Redemption Rehab. Today, we're taking a look at the rookie quarterbacks coming in to the 2024 NFL Draft that are going to impact fantasy football for years to come. We're going to show you their highlights, we're going to show you their statistics, we're even going to show you where they're going to go in some of your upcoming Fantasy Football League drafts later this year. So buckle up, get out your popcorn, and let's head over to the chalkboard
and check out the facts.
Okay, here we are on a website called drafttech.com. When you get a chance, you gotta check them out. They're going to rank our quarterbacks going into the 2024 NFL Draft, starting with this guy, Caleb Williams from USC. As you can see here, he's 6'1", 214 pounds. He's a junior. Draft Tech has him ranked as the #1 overall player in this draft. Let's go check out some of his stats and his statistics and see why everybody likes this guy. Caleb Williams is 6'1", 214 pounds. He's a junior. He played 3 years in college, 1 year at Oklahoma before transferring for 2 years to USC. He's the former Heisman Trophy winner in 2022. He holds a lot of USC records, including rushing, passing, and scoring touchdowns. He also, in 2022, won the Walter Camp Award, the Maxwell Award. He was the AP Player of the Year in 2022, and he won a half a dozen other unanimous All-American awards, including the Pac-12 Player of the Year. Not to mention the #1 overall pick in the 2024 NFL Draft. He played in 37 games while in college. He completed 735 passes of his 1,099 attempts. He had a 67% completion rate. We'd like to see that closer to 70. He threw for 10,082 yards, but his quarterback rate of 170 is right where we expect it to be. He threw for 93 touchdowns and only 14 interceptions in his career, and he's a dual threat quarterback because he also can run the ball. He ran the ball 289 times for 966 yards with 27 more touchdowns in his 3-year career in college. This kid's going to be a major player. He's going to be the first pick in the NFL Draft. He's going to get taken all your Dynasty League rookie drafts and the top 3 picks, regardless of what league you're in. And he's also going to be taken in all your redraft leagues later in the draft. Stick around and we'll show you where all these guys are going to go in your upcoming fantasy football leagues. Who else do we like? Let's head back to Draft Tech and check it out. Okay, the next quarterback on the list that Draft Tech has being drafted in the NFL Draft is this guy, Drake May, out of North Carolina. He's 6'4", 223 pound, redshirt sophomore, meaning he played 3 years in college, all for North Carolina. And Draft Tech over here has him ranked as the 5th overall player in this year's NFL Draft. Let's go check out his stats and highlights. As you can see here, Drake May played at North Carolina for 3 years, being 6'4", 220 pound, redshirt sophomore. In his career, he had 618 completions on 952 attempts for only a 65% completion rate, which we would like to see closer to 70. He threw for 8,018 yards and 63 touchdowns with 16 interceptions for a quarterback rate of only 154. We'd like to see that closer to 170. He can also run the ball, so he's a dual threat quarterback. In his 30 games in college, he ran the ball 302 times for 1,209 yards and another 6 touchdowns. In 2022, which was his best year, he was ACC Player of the Year, ACC Offensive Player of the Year, He had a really good year in 2022, as I highlighted here. Threw for, 4,321 yards. His touchdowns were 38. His quarterback rate, man, that's killing me on this guy. It's got to be closer to 170. And his completion rate being under 65%, that's alarming. When he gets to the NFL, he's got to improve all that stuff. So he's going to go in the top 10 picks of this year's NFL draft. So you need to know who Drake May is from North Carolina. Let's head back to Draft Tech and see who else is on their list. Okay, here we are back on Draft Tech, and their third-ranked quarterback they have listed here today is the 2023 Heisman Trophy winner, Jaden Daniels, one of my favorite players in this draft. Why? He had an amazing year last year. He was the Heisman Trophy winner. He's 6'4", 210 pounds. He did not weigh at the combine, and he was not measured. It's very questionable whether he's 210 pounds. I've seen him listed anywhere from 190 to under 200 pounds all year long, and at 6'3". They will find out what he weighs and his height before he gets drafted. Draft Tech has him ranked as the number 6th overall player in this entire draft. So let's head over and check out some of his stats and highlights. Okay, as you can see here, Jaden Daniels is supposedly 6'4", 210 pounds. He's a redshirt junior, and he played 5 years in college. 3 with Arizona State before transferring to 2 years at LSU, and he played in 55 total games. In his career passing, he completed 953 completions on 1,438 attempts for only 66% completion. We'd like to see that closer to 70. He threw for 12,750 yards. He threw for 89 touchdowns. He had 20 interceptions. And he had a quarterback rate in his career around 158. We'd like to see that closer to 170. In his career, he's a dual threat quarterback, so he can also run the ball. He ran the ball 617 times for 3,307 yards and another 34 touchdowns. The reason he won his Heisman because of his senior year. These are amazing numbers. In 2023, he had 40 passing touchdowns. He had 10 rushing touchdowns for a total of 50 touchdowns. He ran the ball for 1,134 yards rushing, and his quarterback rate was 208. That's huge. He had a good year. He deserves to be the Heisman Trophy winner. He deserves consideration in the top 10 of this year's NFL draft, and he might go in the top 3 picks. So keep an eye on Jaden Daniels out of LSU. We'll see where he goes and how he fits into your fantasy drafts later this year. Speaking of fantasy drafts, let's take a look and see where these top 3 quarterbacks that are probably going in the top 10 picks of this year's NFL draft, are going in some of your Rookie Dynasty League drafts. Okay, this is a Rookie Dynasty League draft done in the middle of March. And as you can see here, Marvin Harrison's the first pick. He's a wide receiver. And you don't see Caleb Williams going until later on, until pick 7, followed by Drake May, and then followed by Jaden Daniels at the beginning of round 2 in this snake draft that's a 1-quarterback league. Then it comes up to some of the other quarterbacks we're going to talk about here in a minute. J.J. McCarthy, and then when it snakes around to round 3, you can see Michael Penix and Bo Nix coming up. So let's head over and check out some of those guys and see what their stats, statistics, and highlights look like last year. Okay, the next quarterback we're going to talk about on DraftTech.com is J.J. McCarthy out of Michigan. 6'2", 219-pound junior. He's the youngest quarterback in this draft. He's only 21 years old, won't be 22 till later this year. Draft Tech has him going in the top 15 picks also, ranked number 13. Let's head over and check out the tape on this guy. J.J. McCarthy is 6'2", 219-pound junior. Like I said, he played 3 years at Michigan. He played in 40 games. He had 482 completions on 713 attempts. He only completed 67% of his passes. We'd like to see that closer to 70%. for 6,226 yards, but he did manage to pull off a national championship. He threw for 49 touchdowns with a quarterback rate of 160, well below the 170 we're looking for. In his last year, he did manage a quarterback rate of 167.5. He's a true game manager. He didn't win many awards, but he can also run the ball. He ran the ball 161 times for 632 yards, a 4-yard average, and another 10 touchdowns. Hey, the kid should have stayed in college one more year. Probably might have been the first quarterback taken next year's draft, but he came out and we'll see where he goes. He's projected to go in the first round of this year's NFL draft. And if he goes to a team that wants a game manager at quarterback, this is your guy. He played well, really well at Michigan. Let's take a look at some of the other guys Draft Tech has ranked high in this year's NFL draft. Okay, we got a couple more guys we want to show you before we take you over and show you where these guys are going in some of your redraft leagues. The last two guys we're going to look at is Michael Penix Jr. and Bo Nix. Both of these guys have been in college a long time. Both will be 25 years old, a little bit older than these other quarterbacks. That may affect their draft stock, maybe their status and where they get drafted because they are much older, but they've got a lot more experience. Let's take Michael Penix Jr. out of Washington. He's 6'2", 216-pound redshirt senior, and Draft Tech has him going 16th overall in this year's NFL draft. Let's take a look at some of his highlights. Okay, here we are taking a look at Michael Penix out of Washington. He's 6'2", 216-pound redshirt senior. He played 49 games in college, a total of 6 years, as you can see here. He is 25 years old in May. He played 4 years at Indiana, 21 games there, before moving on to Washington, where he played another 28 games over a 2-year span. And he won the Maxwell Award in 2023. And he was a finalist in several other major awards. Like I said, he played in 49 games in his career. In his career, he completed 1,067 passes on 1,685 attempts. That's just a 63% average. Like I said earlier, it should be closer to 70. He threw for 13,741 yards with 96 touchdowns and 34 interceptions. That's a little high. And his quarterback rate, it's a little disappointing. It's 146. We'd like to see that closer to 170. He did have injury problems with his knees in college. He doesn't run the ball very well, so he's not a dual threat quarterback. He only ran the ball 134 times for 265 yards, but he can score near the end zone because he had 13 touchdowns. He's considered a pocket passer, and the kid can throw the ball just about anywhere on the field. He has no problems throwing the ball, and you can see here he had an extensive career. We'll see where he goes in this year's NFL draft. Let's head back to Draft Tech and show you the last quarterback on our list, Bo Nix. Okay, here we are on Draft Tech, and you can see the last quarterback we're going to look at today is Bo Nix out of Oregon. 6'2", 214-pound redshirt senior. Draft Tech has him going at the end of the first round, possibly beginning of the second round. Why? He's 25 years old, played 5 years in college. Let's take a look at some of his tape. Okay, here we are taking a look at some of the highlights for Bo Nix out of Oregon. He played 5 years in college. You can see here he played 3 years at Auburn in the SEC. Didn't fare very well, so he transferred out to a real quarterback school out there in Oregon and played in the Pac-12. In his career, he completed 1,286 passes on 1,936 attempts. His completion rate of 66.4. He threw for 15,352 yards. And he threw for 113 touchdowns in his career, but his quarterback rate was a little disappointing. It was only 149. But if you look down here at the bottom, you can see at Oregon, his completion rate soared to almost 75%, and his quarterback rate was close to 178%, higher than the 170 we were hoping for. He can also run the ball. In his career, he ran the ball 405 times, 1,613 yards, and another 38 touchdowns. I mean, this kid can play ball. He's 25 years old, so he's the oldest quarterback in this draft. He's going to play well for whatever team drafts him. He's got experience, and he's going to show that when he gets in the NFL. I wouldn't be surprised if he does well soon. Let's take a look and see where some of these guys are going in your upcoming redraft leagues before we let you go. Okay, this is a redraft mock draft that we did before we shot this video. And if you look at the first 9 rounds of this draft, you're not going to see any of the rookie quarterbacks going at all. They didn't go till after round 9. Here's the rest of the mock draft through rounds 18. First quarterback off the board. Thought it would be Caleb Williams, but it wasn't. It was Jaden Daniels. Someone took him there at the end of round 13 and came around and they took Caleb Williams. They're the only 2 quarterbacks in this rookie class that were taken in this redraft league, and I suspect in your league later this year, regardless of who drafts them, they're probably going to be the only 2 quarterbacks worth taking, possibly as a backup quarterback to whatever quarterback you draft earlier in the draft. Okay, there you have it. That's all the quarterbacks that we think will impact fantasy football in the 2024 NFL Draft. I'm Buster Brown. The show is called Redemption Rehab. Good luck.